David Letterman is bringing down the curtain on his final Late Show broadcast on Wednesday. It's the end of an illustrious 33-year career for the talk show host and comedian. But let's talk about Letterman's beginnings with the man who signed him in 1993. Howard Stringer was the CBS president who launched Late Show on the network. I interviewed him earlier today in an exclusive for Bloomberg TV, and I began by asking him if he worried whether Letterman's loyal NBC audience would follow him to CBS.
I just thought he would work really well at CBS, possibly even better. I never had any doubts about the timing. I thought, for one thing, CBS had nothing. We had an empty slot. I mean, we filled it with occasional movies and drama series, but we had nothing that could compete with David Letterman. And so, from our purposes, this was an opportunity not to be missed. And we never worried about anything, any of the details.
Sir, you gave David Letterman $40 million to move from NBC to CBS. Some affiliates did voice concerns about dropping those reruns, which were making them a lot of money. How did you convince them of the economics of your decision, and how long was it before CBS earned a profit on its Letterman investment?
I have no idea how long before we earned a profit, but not very long. This is a long time ago, and a lot of waters flowed under the bridge. But the affiliates, generally speaking, understood why we were chasing David Letterman, and had we chased a stranger, they might have raised more objections. But I didn't really have any difficulty. I didn't have any affiliates yelling at me a lot.
Sir, you were quoted recently as saying that part of your selling point to David Letterman was CBS's rich history of news and entertainment. Did that seal the deal when you mentioned Merle and Lucy and Jack Benny and Ed Sullivan?
I don't know if it sealed a deal. I think it helped, because he's kind of a proud man, and he knew a lot about the networks. And Fox wasn't strong then, and there wasn't a Bloomberg, so for him, CBS was an obvious choice. And we did have this long catalogue of iconic people in a list to which he belonged, I thought. And when I said that to him in the room in front of him on the panel, I could see him brighten. I think it was convincing, but I never said to him, "Is that the reason you came?" Because once he came, I didn't really care what the reasons were.
Mr. Stringer, at any point during the negotiations, did you think that it might fall through, that Letterman might go back to NBC?
I was more worried about Rupert Murdoch, because Rupert, as we subsequently found out, is very convincing. I lost many battles later with Rupert. I didn't win many. And this was one that I knew he would be a formidable adversary, and I didn't know what he had in his pocket, and I didn't know what else they could offer him. But I think David Letterman wanted to be on one of these networks, and I didn't really think he was going to change his mind.
Sir, what were your first impressions of David Letterman when you met him?
Well, I knew him so well. I mean, to me, he's a familiar figure. He's very smart, very well educated, very original, very imaginative humor. I'd seen his program a lot. He reminded me, as I've said, though I'm not sure he liked it, with the David Frosts and the John Cleeses and the smart people from the satire world of the BBC and beyond. And so he to me was very familiar, and I'd even been to Indianapolis a lot, which is where he was from. But I just thought he had a kind of sophisticated adult humor with a satirical edge that belonged on CBS, because CBS was a mature, smart company.
Did it really matter then that Jay Leno consistently beat David Letterman in the ratings?
No, I don't. No, I didn't. I mean, it's a different kind of humor, and therefore a different kind of audience. And I knew that it was a very high-profile audience and a very good audience for advertisers. But I didn't think about that. I mean, we were going from 0 to 9.5 out of 10. I was very, very happy, and I liked the show. And in the end, when you're running programming, you don't bring everything into the equation. You ask yourself, is this what the network needs, and is this going to be good for the network and our audience? And I always thought it was, and he didn't disappoint. He's never disappointed.
Sir, how would you assess the current late-night network landscape? Has it lessened in influence because of cable TV or because of on-demand offerings?
Well, everything is fragmented. Everything has more competition. You have so much choice, and of course time shifting means you could watch David Letterman all over the place, and probably people are, and so late nights changed. I think the one single change that will be missed with David is that David listens, and his interrelationship with the guests is what makes him special, because he's so smart. If you watch the people who've been on the show this week, whether it's Adam Sandler or Tom Hanks, those are people that appreciate that their conversation with David Letterman is going to be funny but also substantial, really require them to be on their toes because it's full of wit and understanding. And that's what made him very special. That's harder to achieve. You can sit in that chair and be funny and entertain, but your job in the real sense of the word is to bring out the guests. I once spent a lunch with Johnny Carson, just the two of us, and it was the funniest lunch I ever had. And I said, how come you don't do more of that? He said, I have guests in front of me, and I think David Letterman understood that.
Sir, we have about 20 seconds left. I have to ask, if Mr. Letterman is flipping past on his TV and he catches you in this interview on Bloomberg, you have anything to say to him as he retires?
Well, I will miss him. I will wish him all the best. It's been a privilege and an honor to be associated with him. It's one of the best things that I was ever involved with, and I think the network has got a great deal out of it. And I think he did go into that iconic lineup along with all the great names of the past of CBS.